In a wild and remote quarry in Scotland's cairngorms lies the Sphinx. The Sphinx is Scotland's longest remaining snow patch and the one that usually melts the last out of all the snow in Scotland. And in today's video we take a journey to this remote quarry to hopefully visit and measure the Sphinx. Right, hello, I am really excited about this adventure. I've got my bike just behind me there, don't know if you can see that. I've just parked up and we are going to find the last snow in Scotland, or more precisely the last snow patch in Scotland. It's late summer now, very end of August, start of September, well, end of August. And we don't even know if it's lasted throughout the year, but there'll be more about the history and the significance of this snow patch, especially when I introduce you to the person I'm going hiking with. I'm just waiting for him to come, so whilst I'm doing that I'm going to have a coffee in the van and just take in these lovely views. Look at the heather, it's so purple, it's lovely. Right, I'll bring you back when my companion has arrived. Right, let's have this coffee. Right, we are now on the way and we've just stopped this lovely little Loch, and we've got our bikes all saddled up and ready to go, and I said I'd introduce the person that's going to be my companion this trip, and this chap is the best person I can think of in the entire world if I'm going looking for the last snow in Scotland, and it's Mr. Iain Cameron. How you doing, Iain?
Afternoon.
So I've never met Iain before, we only met, what, 15 minutes ago?
About that.
Yeah, and Iain had suggested this trip. You do this, how many times did you say you'd been up here?
This will be number 36 visit to Glacier.
Brilliant. So if I'm needing some route guidance, I'll be asking Iain which way we're going. So yeah, so the snow patch is called the
Sphinx.
The Sphinx. And can you give a wee bit of history on it? Just a brief history. We'll go into it further on up the trail.
Brief history of it is historically speaking, it's the last patch of snow to melt in the whole of Scotland. In fact, the whole of the UK for that matter. Up until sort of earlier part of the 20th century, so 1930s, it had never been known to melt before. Unfortunately, since 1933, it's melted quite a lot of times, and most of those times have been in the last few years. So we're now into early September, just about to go into early September, and it's probably critically small. So this might be one of the last chances we get to see it.
Is there a chance it might not be there at all?
No.
Small chance, so it's definitely going to be there?
Definitely going to be there.
You heard it here. But it's going to be interesting to see, so we'll talk a bit more about it, but yeah, brilliant, let's get on. And oh, we've got company coming, so we'll bring you back a bit later on. We need to get cycling, and it's a bit of an expedition, but we'll tell you more about that in a wee while. Let's go. Right, let's put this down here. We are now at 472 metres, and we've ascended just under 200 metres actually. Well,
this is a Land Rover track, so where we're heading up Glen Enoch, which is over our heads in that direction, the Loch is still used, or actually up until relatively recently, it was the main water supply for Aviemore.
Oh right, okay.
But it's still serviced, just in case the water supply ever fails. So that's why this Land Rover track is maintained, because quite often you'll see vehicles coming back and forward here.
Oh, I never knew that, fantastic. So I think it's probably a good time to just maybe we'll just tell you what our plans are, and directly above us, hopefully, I'll put a wee arrow. You're saying it's the low point on the skyline, Iain, is where we're headed? Yeah,
if you can imagine. So that's the Brer Plateau, which is the UK's third highest hill, second highest in the cairngorms, second only to Ben Macdui. But you can see this is a natural W shape on the ridge there, and the main summit of Brer is on the left-hand side. Right. But just as it dips down and flattens out, you can see, hopefully on the camera, a little sort of basin. Well, I say little, it's actually huge, but it looks quite small from here. And what you can't see in that basin is the Loch, and the Loch gives its name to the quarry, which is called, rather unsurprisingly, Loch, which means the quarry of the small loch. Right. And it's actually one of the highest lochs of its size. Right. So it's a decent size, sits on the 1,000 metre contour line, right. And lots of people go up there to go for wild swims, because it's one of the most spectacular places in the whole of the British Isles to go for a swim. Stay tuned.
Hopefully we'll make it that far. So that's our plan for today, is to get, that's going to be high base camp.
Correct.
High base camp, and then that's a journey getting there. But then tomorrow we've got to go right to the top, over the top of the plateau, And then the ultimate goal is to find the snow patch, isn't it? Which lies, you know the quarry name a lot better than I can.
Garachormore. It means the big rough quarry in Gaelic. It's one of the most remote quarries in the cairngorms. It's very difficult to get to. There are a couple of chinks in its armour which are not well known. I know them, so we're going to go that way tomorrow.
We'll do that. So we're having a wee rest here, and it's a downhill stretch, and then we'll bring you back when we're dropping the bikes off and let you know how we're feeling and if we're up for this pull up to the Loch for the camp.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Oh, right, so there's a few difficulties. This river crossing, it wasn't too bad, but our bikes are loaded with all our camping gear and what have you. And Ian's got some specialist gear for dropping into the quarry and measuring snow patches and stuff, so that in spate could be difficult, but we're getting closer now. In fact, there's light. That looks absolutely magnificent now. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but there's light on the quarry that we're headed for, and the headwall looks magnificent. I'm really looking forward to getting up here, so a wee bit more cycling and we'll bring you back in a wee while.
The track was great for cycling along. You can see Ian had a lovely little trailer which was very handy, and yeah, it's about just under say 10 kilometres to cycle from where we'd parked the van to where we were dropping the bikes off before hiking up the hill, and it was about 290 metres of ascent that we did. But, yeah, a fabulous track, and before long we were at the point where we had to start hiking.
As you can probably see, that's us at the point where we're going to be starting the climb. We're going to drop the bikes here and padlock them up, but now we need to just transfer everything from our bike packs into our backpacks and start the arduous hike uphill. And we'll speak to you in a wee while. When I started doing some of the longer distance trails, yeah, just for peace of mind, because I'd always... Oh, right, we have, we've come up from down yonder. It's a steep pool, Ian.
It doesn't get any easier.
It's pretty pathless, and as we always say, you know, what a difference a path makes. But we are on a path now, aren't we? So, what's the name of the stream again? You were saying
this is the Altbuyenich, which means the yellow stream, or the stream that drains from the yellow place. I'm not quite sure which, but it's a reference to the colour of the.
Is it buoy's yellow, isn't it?
The colour of the grass goes, yes.
Right, yeah. Fantastic. And I think you were saying there's grass here because this is an area where snow lingers, and some skiers use it. So any skiers will probably know exactly where we are. Yeah,
this is called the escalator to skiers because, as you rightly say, the wind blows in here in winter, fills this gully up, and all the way down to the bottom you can ski, and it has been known to ski to the bottom of that, I think right up to the end of May.
Well, yeah. I might be rolling down it on the way back.
Good chance.
So yeah, we're on a wee path now, and I think another hour and we should be at the camp spot. Just hoping the midges aren't going to be too ferocious tonight. But
fingers crossed.
We'll see. Right, let's get cracked on and we'll report back later on. Whoa.
After the steep hike up the pathless ground, being on a path was fantastic, and the vegetation was getting shorter as we got higher up the hillside, and before long we got our first views of our intended camp spot.
Look at that. Not a bad spot. Wow, that's stunning. Right, just been scouting around for a wee while trying to find a place to pitch the tent. It's really quite rocky, there's not that many places here, but it's typical of Scotland really. I often get jealous when I see people, and I don't know, there's places in the lakes, isn't there, and it's lovely and grassy, but pretty rocky here. So Ian's got a spot just about 30 metres away, and I've got a wee spot here, and the light's just coming. What a spectacular place this is. I'm really hoping that the camera's picking up how special it is. And as Ian said, this is one of the highest bodies, larger bodies of water in the Highlands. We're at the almost exactly 1,000 metre mark here. So far, so good, no midges, but yeah, I want to get the tent up and I'll report back in a wee while. Okay, so we are now settled into camp. Ian's we're about 100 metres apart, aren't we? Because we might snore. Who knows? But we've had something to eat. We've got the tent set up, and it's just a wonderful place. Ian, what a spot! This was your idea. Obviously, you've been here a few times before.
to this loch. And did you say it was maybe one of the highest sort of bodies of water this size?
Of this size, I mean, you can see it's a pretty significant stretch of water. We're at pretty much bang on the 1,000 metre contour, so it is pretty high, and you can see it's a good stretch of water. There are lochs in Scotland which are higher, but none have got the surface area. Yeah, so it's a popular spot for wild swimmers as well, because it's seen wrongly as the highest loch in Scotland, and that attracts a lot of people to it. But you can see it is magnificent, and with the sunset over the summit cone of Bray in the background, there's no finer spot to be.
It's lovely, yeah. So I mean, if you're watching this in the future, to give you background, there's maybe been a couple of hours of sunshine this summer. And tonight and tomorrow it's meant to be glorious, so fingers crossed. But the reason we're here isn't to come to the highest loch in Scotland. It's to go and see the snow patch, as we talked about earlier on. And that's your, I suppose it's not a hobby, is it? It's almost a way of life for you, isn't it? Because how long have you been doing it for, Iain?
Well, seriously, probably for about 15 to 20 years.
Wow.
But as a sort of amateur sort of hobby, I've been interested in it ever since I was sort of that high, for a long time now. But stuff like this, expeditions like this, have become commonplace for me in summer. I go to them as often as I can, and despite
you're fit enough. I was struggling to keep up with you coming up there.
Well, I mean, I do it a lot. You do it a lot as well. You're pretty fit, but I do it a lot, so you get fit. And when you traverse terrain like this, it's pretty demanding, particularly when, again, like you've got a really heavy pack, as I do, and you have to carry a lot of kit, and that's just the way of it. But this is something that is a hobby insofar as I do it outside of work, because people think I actually do this for a living, but I don't do it for a living. No. I do this in my spare time.
Yeah. And of course, I think I should give you your book a wee plug. I've read it, and it's really good. It's called Vanishing Ice, isn't it? So if you're interested, it's great. It's not just about the snow patches. There's stories in there, and it's I can thoroughly recommend it. Go and check it out. I don't know where I got it. Amazon, all good booksellers and stuff like that. So but specifically, I think the Sphinx. You said earlier on, it's historically one of the last patches of snow to melt in Scotland, and for what, 200 or 300 years it didn't melt maybe once or something, is that right?
Yeah, there's pretty good anecdotal evidence from the 1700s onwards, passed from keeper to keeper, and Adam Watson sort of collated this information from the old stockers who used to do the beat.
So for those of you that haven't read the book, maybe give a wee brief outline of who Adam Watson was and how he influenced you as well.
Well, Adam was just a remarkable guy. He was a quadruple doctorate, one of probably Scotland's best known ecologists, born in 1930, he died just a few years ago. But the body of work he did was just phenomenal. He travelled widely to the Arctic, Baffin Island, Iceland, northern Norway. He was an inspiration, really, I suppose. And I contacted him many years ago with some information about patches of snow, because I didn't realise that people who were interested in this sort of thing existed. And when I found out he did, I contacted him, and he couldn't have been nicer, and we struck up a bit of a friendship, and that remained right until the day that he passed away. But he's a truly remarkable guy, and the observations that he's got, or he had, which I now have stretched back, well into the
you've kind of taken on the mantle. Would that be fair to say that you're
so insofar as anyone can take over a mantle like that, his knowledge was broad across large swathes of the Scottish outdoors. I'm very niche. I'm focused on this, but yeah, I mean, I'm continuing the tradition that really that he took over from Seton Gordon. Seton Gordon used to do this before Adam Watson did, so that's going way back into the 1800s. Wow. So I'm really just continuing the work that others have done. So what's the phrase? Standing on the shoulders of giants. That's how I think of it.
Yeah. So a very inspirational character for yourself, and. I'm sure he would have come up. Would he have come up to see the Sphinx and measure it and do all the observations?
For sure. I mean, Adam has been there numerous times. I've been there this will be my 36th time visiting. Wow. It's a place that anyone who's serious about the study of patches of snow goes to, because it's like the Mecca. It's the place where the records exist for hundreds of years. It's a place where, for as you say, through centuries, that the patch of snow maintained, and it's really a place that it's almost like a pilgrimage going to. I mentioned this in the book, that I suppose it's like going to a church or going to a place where you devote time, and it's getting there is almost like a pilgrimage. And when you get to this, the Holy of Holies, like the patch of snow, the Sphinx snow patch, it's like you've arrived at the altar, if you like, and this is where you do all the things that you need to do, like measuring and recording.
Journey. It's a proper adventure. Coming here is an adventure, but we're only halfway, really. Tomorrow's going to be really, really interesting. And there's another patch of snow, isn't there? Is it the Pinnacle?
It's called Pinnacles. It doesn't last quite as long. Pinnacles sits about 50 metres away from it, slightly lower down, and that tends to disappear probably about 4 to 5 weeks before the Sphinx does, typically.
So it might be there, it might not be there tomorrow?
I think it'll be there, but very small.
Right. So we don't even know. I think you said in 2003, by this point it had melted completely.
Completely gone, yep.
So you never know. And again, so I think we said for hundreds of years it didn't disappear, but in the last 10, is it 7 out of the last 10 years it's melted completely?
Yeah, so if you look at the record, it disappeared for the first time in recorded history in 1933.
Right.
And then again in 1959. So, big gaps between them. But then it disappeared in 96, in 2003, 2006, 2017, 2018. And in fact, it's disappeared for the last 3 years consecutively.
Yeah.
And so this year, unless winter snow arrives very early, it's going to be the 4th year in succession it's going to disappear. Unprecedented.
Unheard of. It just goes to show, we know what's happening to the glaciers. I suppose in UK terms, this is not equivalent, but when you're looking at visible things that you can measure and see, you see in the Alps the recession of the glaciers quite prominently. I suppose this is our version of it, isn't it? Almost. I don't know.
It is. It's a place in Britain where we will see glacial regeneration happen the soonest.
The first place.
So if the Ice Age returns, which it will, that'll be the first place. It was the last place probably that the ice departed from. Back in 10,000 whenever it was BC. So it's a pretty special place, and it's completely unlike any other quarry that you'll go to because of the altitude in it. Around about the snow, vegetation can't even grow because the growing season is so short. Yeah. So when you go there's rocks there without even any lichen on them because it's such a short growing season that nothing can get a toehold.
A very unique micro ecosystems.
Microclimate, it's a very unusual place.
Yeah, excellent. All right. Well, we'll talk more about this probably as the night goes on and tomorrow, but we're going to go and watch. I think it's going to be a spectacular sunset tonight. And there's also, not promising anything, but there's a small chance there might be an aurora later on. So I think we'll go and chill out. We'll bring you back later on. And we'll get a good night's sleep ahead of the pool tomorrow. And it's not only the pool up over the summit plateau, it's a very, very steep drop down. In fact, you've got a rope with you as well, haven't you? So we'll bring you back later on. Let's go and take some pictures and watch the sun go down. It's getting cold though, isn't it?
Bit chilly.
It's going to be a cold one. Right, we'll speak to you later on.
So we headed over to a nice wee spot on the ridge where we could get a lovely view out to the west and the north, and just watched the sunset. And as is often the case, the next kind of 45 minutes the skies just lit up, and we just sat chewing the fat, sharing some whiskey, and just having a chat about life in general. It was a fantastic evening, and it was about to get even more fantastic, as you'll see in just a little while.
Oh, right, I don't know if you can, I'm probably blown out because I've got the lights on me, but I can see some aurora on the back of the camera. I can't see it with the naked eye because it's still it's still light on the horizon, kind of to the northwest. But if you look at I don't know if you can see it. It'll be very grainy because the ISO pumped right up. But let me turn this light off actually. Hopefully you can still see me. But hopefully behind me you can see there's purples and some greens on the back of the camera. Well, on your screen it'll be quite grainy as I said, but yeah, I'm going to set up a time lapse and hopefully, yeah, might see some aurora. So you will see that in just a minute. Fantastic. As you can see, the aurora was fantastic and it got stronger and stronger, and I sat outside the tent just watching it. As you could see, you could see it with the naked eye as well. But here's a time lapse that I set up overnight, and yeah, I had to cut this down considerably because it did the aurora did dance the whole night and even shone through the dawn light as it started to get towards sunrise. What a fantastic evening. Right, good morning. Oh, the wind has picked up overnight. But what a night it was. I didn't sleep much. Just before going to bed, I checked the camera and took some shots north. I didn't need to check the camera. The aurora was visible to the naked eye, as they said, and there was big shafts of light. So I set up a time lapse overnight, which you're probably watching now, or you've maybe seen a bit of. And I've just looked back at some of the footage, and even towards the end of the night, the shafts, the purples, and you can still see it through the dawn coming. It's just, it's amazing. Love the aurora. So, yeah, that was impressive. But yeah, it's cold, it's windy. Just wanting the sun to come up. The forecast is 2 degrees for the top. But anyway, can't really complain too much. It's absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to get some coffee, and yeah, I'll bring you back in a wee while. Whew. Right, caffeine time. Oh. Okay, so good morning. Good morning to Ian. I've done a wee bit to camera already. So how was your night's sleep?
Disturbed.
Yeah. Got windy really quickly, didn't it?
As soon as I lay down, boof, up it came. So not forecast, but yeah. Those are the vagaries of the Scottish camping climate.
Yeah. So yeah, it's windy down here, and we're, what you thought, maybe 200 metres ascent up onto the plateau.
About that.
So, and the wind direction, we should have been sheltered here, so it could be really windy up on the top there, but we'll soon find out. So we're going up behind us here. It's going to be a steep pool up there, so we'll bring you back when we're on the plateau, and then it's the steep drop into
Garachormore.
I must memorise that. And then to see if there's any snow left. This is the well, we know there's going to be snow there, but how much is there going to be? This is quite exciting.
Dinner table size, I think.
You think dinner table size?
About that.
Oh, well, I'll go for 2 dinner tables. I'll be the optimist because it's been bloody freezing this summer. I don't think that you were saying that doesn't really matter, does it? For the
it's the quantity of snow that falls in winter, which is the main thing. But summer has a bearing, but not as much as the amount of snow that falls in winter.
And I don't think it was a very good winter last time round, was it?
Poor.
Yeah, it was poor. So let's go on. All will be revealed soon. Right, shall we?
Let's go.
Right. So up we went, and it was pretty steep. The initial 150 metres up past the Loch and onto the plateau were very steep, and we were certainly glad when we got onto the plateau itself and that gradient got a bit more gentle. Wow. Right. Well, we've come up to it's somewhat of a hill, isn't it, Ian? I don't think you said it was named or
unnamed,
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the camera's actually on the wee pile of stones, and what a morning. It's actually less windy here, isn't it?
And the campsite, bizarrely, I thought we were going to have, pretty fierce winds up here, but it's the opposite. The campsite is a lot more blowy than here.
Yeah, it's lovely. And what a special place this is. I think I mentioned to you the first time I came up onto the Cairngorm Plateau was to Brer Eric, and I was amazed. I felt like I was going through a western cowboy scene that was very sort of tumbleweed style, and it's a unique environment, isn't it?
Yeah, really only the hardiest plants can survive up here. I mean, even we're just in the sort of the first day of autumn now, so everything should be probably at its maximum, but you can see the grasses are pretty stunted, the mosses are pretty stunted. There isn't really much that grows above 6 inches here. It's really hostile terrain for plant life and animal life. This is a sort of subarctic desert almost.
And for people looking to go to find snow patches, it's a hard environment. Anyway, I think in the view of the camera, if not, we'll put up some footage. We can point out a few of the other peaks, and your pronunciation's a little better than mine, Mr. Cameron. So can you tell the viewers what we're looking at, maybe?
Yeah. So the one on the left, the big one, is Carntowel.
Yeah.
That's one of the cairngorms biggies, if you like. That's one of the 4,000 foot plus hills. To its right, slightly lower, but no less pretty, is Loch, which is also known as the Angel's Peak.
And in fact, I think that's the Angel's Ridge. You can see.
It is.
Which, yeah, it looks steeper than it.
Yeah. So, and just in that little sort of dip between them, just in the foreground there, that's the entrance to Garachor Ye, which is where the Falls of Dee are.
Yeah.
So we should get some nice pictures of that later on as well. But we're heading just where the cliffs are on the right hand side. We're heading just to the right of that, and that's our drop-in point for Garachor Moor.
Right, perfect. Right, let's get cracked on. So yeah, we'll bring you back once we're across the plateau. We'll bring you back, and I don't know. Can you see the snow patch from the top before you drop in? Oh, that's even more exciting. Let's go. It was a lovely, lovely morning, and it was just fantastic taking a nice stroll across the plateau, and the early morning light was just lovely, and there was nobody about. There was absolutely nobody about because it was still super early, which was really nice. Anyway, we chatted a bit more and strolled over the plateau, heading towards the steep drop-in point to the corries, and before long we were starting to approach the edge of the cliffs and getting a bit excited about the possible sighting of the snow patch. Oh wow!
That's what you call a corrie.
Woo! There it is.
This is not the drop-in point. Drop-in point's over there.
Yeah.
There it is. There's the Sphinx. Can't quite see pinnacles. It's just on the right-hand side, obscured by that little escarpment, but it will definitely be there.
Now we've reached the drop-in point, and Ian's just setting up a wee anchor and just a handrail for us to drop in. It's slippy and slidey, but what a place this is. Around here I can actually see the Sphinx, so it's still there. There's a wee bit left, and it looks relatively big. But Ian will keep us right, and there he's just putting the rope down over yonder. So let's go over and speak to Ian and see what he thinks. But yeah, this is certainly one hell of a place. Right, let's go. Back over with Ian. You've set up a wee anchor to help us, because it does look quite mossy and wet down there, a bit slippy.
Yeah, it's not the most technical, but just that little first bit is steep, and so the rope is quite a big help.
It's not a place to fall, but we got there's two things which are quite exciting. One, we got a view of the Sphinx, and yeah, because it's far away, I bet it looks, when we get there it'll be, you know, relatively big, but you still think that's going to be gone by, it's not going to last this year, is it?
I think probably mid-September. Maybe the third week in September. If it stays cool, who knows, it might have a chance, but it's not looking good based on what I've seen so far.
And talking of cool, we've just seen our first frost of the season, haven't we? So that's why it was cold last night, it was frosty up here. The moss had a wee sprinkling, which was lovely to see, wasn't it? A wee sprinkling of frost.
First of the season, yep. It's all downhill from here on in.
Or uphill if you like that sort of stuff. And the other thing I was just going to mention is the wells of Dee.
Wells of Dee.
We crossed, it's quite a substantial burn at about 4,000 feet, and there's not much hillside round about it. It's amazing how much water there is in that burn.
There's about 7 or 8 springs all bubble up, and they all conjoin, all quite close together, and then, as you say, there's this fully formed stream at 4,000 foot that's actually quite, in heavy rain, it's actually quite difficult to cross.
Yeah, it's amazing. Right, we'll drop in and we'll report back on the way to the Sphinx. Quite excited about it. Right, we're still descending down. It's I see it behind me there. That's where we've come down. I'm glad Ian had the had the rope. It's steep, sort of unstable ground. So you're dedicated man, Ian. He's just taking some photographs behind me there. But what a spot! Spin you around, you can see over what I'm looking at, and then we'll be traversing over the hillside to the snow patch there. So Yeah, not far to go now, Ian.
Yeah, we're getting close. It's tantalising, isn't it?
Yeah. So we'll bring you back at the Sphinx, hopefully. Right. I know what you're thinking, but you can see me.
No,
This snow doesn't look that big, but this isn't the Sphinx, is it? Is this the Pinnacles, Ian?
this is Pinnacles Patch,
Yeah.
and as you can see, it is not long for this world. What, 5 metres long, maybe 5.5 metres long, about a metre-ish wide, 1.2 metres wide, but critically, probably no more than about 5 centimetres deep. So with today's sort of bright sunshine, that'll diminish even more today, and I doubt if it's even, it might have 48 hours, but I'll have no more than that.
Really? Yeah. Wow. And there's obviously we've seen the Sphinx from coming in, so we'll go to that in just a minute. But how many patches do you think of snow at the moment in Scotland there is? Because I know you said there's some in Annick Moor. Is it Annick Beg that's on? I can't remember.
Annick Beg. So
Beg.
there's one in Annick Beg, there's a couple in Nevis,
Right.
and a couple here, so there's
five left.
patches, and
Soon to become-
soon to be four, and probably actually the week after that the ones in Nevis will be critical as well. So maybe this time in a week or two there's only going to be a couple left.
You can see it dripping actually.
Yeah.
It's crying, almost, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a sad sight, but what the interesting feature is, probably the camera can see that there's quite a lot of moss, growing in the periphery, but because the growing season is so short in this hollow where the snow lies the longest, not even the most primitive life can get a toehold.
Yeah.
So it's basically granite and dirt, and that's it. It's really stripped back of all life.
Wow. Right, shall we go into the big boy?
Let's go and have a look.
Let's do it. Right. Well, as you've probably seen, that's us. You know what? I'm going to have a seat. My legs are tired. It's we talked about this, but it's something else getting here. It's a special place. It's got a real. I mean, I'm interested, but I'm not as interested as you are, and I'm feeling the kind of ambience and the sort of the atmosphere here is just it's special. And I know we don't have any real wild and remote places, but this is about as wild and remote as you can get, in my opinion.
Certainly in the cairngorms.
Yeah.
This is the most isolated quarry in the cairngorms in terms of just distance travel to get here. There's no easy way in, you know, and
that was the easiest way, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, it's the most direct. You can come in from the Larry Grew, and that is probably easier, but it's far longer. And the trudge up through the quarry is actually it's more like a penance than anything. It's a boulder field. So the way we come in is the best way. But as you allude to, it's the ambience of the place. There's nowhere else like this, I don't think. No. I've been to a lot of places in the cairngorms and elsewhere, and for me this is probably the most amazing place. Really, it's spectacular.
Well, again, thank you for bringing me. But let's talk about the patch. You can see it dripping away there. So it's quite sad when you see it like that, isn't it? But yeah, so I think we mentioned. Well, I'd read in your book. Obviously, this came from your book that it was a big event in 1933 when this completely melted for the first time in recorded history.
First time it had ever been known to melt, and been watched probably since the 1700s. Not with any degree of scientific rigour, but certainly from the 1840s onwards, the Scottish Mountaineering Club did keep an eye on it, and they noticed that in 1933 it was a really poor year in winter for snowfall.
Right.
So it melted reasonably early actually that year, but it was a big event, and they wrote to the Times in London to let them know it disappeared, because none of them expected to ever see such a thing happen again. So that shows you the longevity of the thing in the historical era. But it did, as I say, it did melt again in *59. And you mentioned how it was sad that it was dripping. It's almost as if it's crying.
Yeah.
It's only about 7 metres by 7 metres.
Right.
It'll still last another few weeks, but I fully expect this to melt fully, and that will be the 4th consecutive year
in a row. So now it's almost going to be it's sad to say, but it's going to be an event when it doesn't melt.
Correct.
That's going to be the thing, isn't it?
It's flipped completely 380 degrees. It used to be the case that if this melted, it was unusual. And now, based on certainly the last 4 or 5 years observations, this surviving now will be a significant event. So we've really come a long way in a short distance of time.
Yeah, it's sad. What a place. What a place. And there's not many people. The people come here, but as you said, it's names from the past like Adam Watson, was it Seaton Gordon?
It takes a special effort to come here. It's not the sort of place that you just sort of happen by.
No.
You have to specifically want to come here to see this.
I can vouch for that.
Yes.
That was sketchy, but you're used to it. I do a lot of hill walking, and it's not somewhere, if you're watching this video and thinking, oh yeah, I do the Munros and go up the paths, and you can come here, you need to have one ahead for height, steady on your feet, and you had the rope there as well, which was needed. So just be prepared if you want to come places like this. It's a serious outing.
It's a serious undertaking, and you wouldn't come here on spec, having read about it. You'd really want to come here with someone who's been here a few times and knows the score, because it's the ramifications of having an injury here are serious.
You're far away. There's no signal. Yeah, you're about as far away from help as you can get. And if there are Munros away over there, but they ain't going to hear your shouts. So yeah, I think I just got to say that, because if this goes out and a lot of people watching think, oh, we'll go there. Look, we'll go and see the snow. We'll take the kids there. No, definitely not. It's proper mountaineering territory. So.
Yeah, it is, and this is. Technically not mountaineering, but in terms of severity, it's mountaineering.
Yeah, for sure. Coming down there, one slip and it's... Anyway, here endeth your safety lesson. So, right, shall we... I think we just sit for a bit longer, maybe take a few more photographs, and then we'll turn the cameras off. We'll bring you back in a wee while, but I think we just enjoy the ambience of it. It's just such a special place. I'm in no hurry to leave.
No, and a day like today, why would you be?
One day of summer. Right, brilliant.
In contrast to the blustery camp spot that we'd had, the quarry and the area around about the Sphinx was perfectly sheltered, and it felt really nice and warm. So we lingered for quite some time before we decided to pull ourselves away and get back up onto the plateau and head back towards the campsite.
Just a very quick bit to camera, but we're at, I've noticed these in hillsides in Scotland before, and it's almost a luminous green moss. And Ian, you're thinking it's maybe quite a rare type of plant, aren't you?
I've looked this up before. I think it's a moss called, I think it's a bryophyte. I'm going to double check that. You have to fact check me here.
Yeah.
I think it's Polaya wallenbergi glacialis, also called Iceland moss.
All right.
It's very unusual. You don't see it many places.
It's so green, isn't it?
It's incredibly green. It looks like someone spray painted it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost fluorescent.
But it's a very primitive form of life, and it reproduces. You see that the water, water droplets run over the top of it like that.
Oh yeah.
And that's how the spores. That's how it reproduces, where the spores trickle down. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. There you go. So if you see that luminous green, you can see it for miles. It is even here. The sun's not out at the moment. Look how green it is. Fantastic. Anyway, right, onwards we go. Made it back out alive.
Just about.
It's it must be about 200 metres ascent.
Yeah.
Almost
easy, yeah.
Vertical.
It's pretty steep. I think it's about 55-60% it tops out at, so it is pretty steep in places.
Very steep. So really looking forward to this nice plod along the gentle inclines and declines of the plateau. But I think we've timed the weather. The weather wasn't meant to turn till tomorrow, but if I spin you around, you can see all the summits now I've got a cap of cloud coming in. So I'm glad that we got up early. I mean, it's only 10 o'clock now. I think we've done all right.
I would say so. I think we've got the best of the day with the looks of it. Yep.
Yeah, fantastic. So we're going to head back down. We'll report back when we're back at the tent. So we've still got a long way to go, but most of it is
downhill.
Downhill. So
with the wind.
With the wind, yeah. Shall we? Let's go. Brilliant.
So it was back across the plateau, which again was just lovely walking, and before long we were getting back down with views across the Loch, and it was getting really windy again here, but these views were just spectacular. You can see why so many people will come up to this Loch to have a swim.
Anyway, before long we did the steep descent back down and reached the tents, and a little while later we were striking camp, leaving no trace and getting ready for the journey back to the vans, which was still a considerable distance to travel. Oh, right, we're back and we've struck camp, and we're just talking about how windy it is here, because when we got up into the plateau it was, in fact over the plateau it was a gentle breeze, and then when we went down to the Sphinx where I thought the southerly winds would be hitting, there wasn't a drop of wind, was there? But yet here it's strong to gale force gusts.
It definitely is. I think what's happening is the wind's funneling off the top of the hill, driving down the corrie and just blowing across the Loch. But it's the windiest part of the hill. We picked probably the worst place to camp.
But what did we say earlier? No midges because of the wind.
No midges,
but
that's a plus.
No sleep because of flapping tents.
Yeah, it was a bit broken night's sleep. I'll certainly sleep tonight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right, we've still got a long way to go, so you know what, I'll probably not do another bit to camera until we reach the van, but cut to some B-roll of us, I don't know, struggling down the hill, well, me struggling down the hill, and hopefully cycling. I'm looking forward to getting back on the bike.
Definitely.
Nice. Right, we'll bring you back later. In almost perfect weather, we descended with our heavy packs back down the mountain, and it was a relief to get to the bikes, because we knew at this point the cycle down was mainly downhill on these fantastic tracks, and with the blue skies now above us, the green of the pines and the purple of the heather, this was a very, very lovely and enjoyable cycle back down to the van. So we are back at the van, Drew, and what a day, what an adventure. And I just want to say thank you for taking me.
Pleasure.
It's been great. And we were kind of half joking, talking about it being the last glacier in Scotland, but it would have been the last one, wouldn't it?
Would have been the place where the last glacier vanished about 12,000 years ago. So it's, if you like, it's almost like the last vestige of that, and it'll be the place where the glacier first reappears as well. So it's maybe a bit of a stretch to call it a glacier, but certainly it's as close to one as we've got. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? The final thoughts? Did you expect it to be bigger, or is that just what you expected, or smaller, or are you happy, or just resigned to the fact that you know it's going to melt again?
Yeah, I was there 2 weeks ago and I was resigned to the fact that it is going to melt. If September is cool and we get some early snow, there's a chance, but I think the odds are against it. If I were a betting man, I'd say it's probably 70-30, 80-20 against, but you never know.
Yeah, well, you never know. I'll report, but goodness knows when this video will come out. By the time I've edited everything, there's a lot of footage to go through. So yeah, well, brilliant. Again, thank you so much. We'll finish the video here. There's no way I would have managed that without you. And he's one fit bugger, I tell you. I was struggling to keep up with him. So yeah, I'm telling you. But yeah, thank you so much. And
pleasure, Murray.
Thank you guys for watching. And and if you're interested, I'll put a link to your book in the description below called Vanishing Ice. It is excellent. So give that a look and give that a buy. I think it'll be an Amazon link or something I'll stick in. So yeah, we'll see you next week. Stay safe. Right, time for a long trip home in the vans.
Enjoy.
Yes, likewise.